article up on ESPN.com. It takes a deep dive into Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, their relationship. It's really interesting. Go check it out. But what have you noticed about their dynamic so far in camp?
It's really hands-on. And I think yesterday, when starters weren't playing in the preseason game against Miami, demonstrates that in a way that I haven't seen in covering an NFL team, where Ben Johnson takes Caleb Williams, 3 receivers, a tight end, and a running back, and puts them through 70-plus plays, the routes on air, but an hour-long practice before the preseason game, before he has to go call the preseason game, which is not normal because usually that's either like your quarterback's coach, your offensive coordinator, QC guys putting you through that workout, and it was really detailed. He had to account for motions. He had to account for shifts. So Ben Johnson would give him the play. Caleb would have this sort of like makeshift huddle, call the play, have to account for first down, second down, third down. They were doing red zone work, accuracy work on the deep ball too. And that was to get him more comfortable with things that they've been repping in practice, because the emphasis here, give Caleb as much as you can throughout the preseason so he can become a master of all this. And like there's tangible things we've seen from Ben Johnson, whether he's telling Caleb, hey, if your headset goes out, have 2 to 3 plays in your back pocket so you're not in it. You don't want to burn a timeout in that moment. You don't want to panic in that moment. That's stuff that I don't necessarily know he got enough of as a young quarterback during his rookie season, that Ben Johnson, a part of this overload process right now, is trying to teach him.
How much of Ben Johnson's offense are they giving Caleb to be responsible for?
Everything, which I know sounds like hyperbolic, but they are trying to overload him right now so they can know where they need to pare back. And this is a complex offense. I mean, you've got Case Keenum, who's 37 years old, saying it's one of the most complex he's ever played in. So for a 23-year-old quarterback who now has to be responsible for really long play calls, and having to get in the huddle, get out of the huddle, and be like, say it with your chest, say it confidently, not stutter when you're in there, and maintain all of this information, in addition to identifying things pre-snap that he might not have been that good at doing last year. And I think a good example of that is what we saw, like his process. Is it speeding up? Ryan Poles and I sat down last week. He said he's seeing instances of where he's getting it, but there's also those moments where he's thinking and not just playing and reacting. That happened against Miami in the joint practice. New defense, Anthony Weaver's throwing the kitchen sink at him. So there's moments where Caleb's not identifying things that are happening pre-snap with blitzes, different, we're knowing where his pressure's coming from, and those would lead to sacks in practice. We're still seeing some of that, but again, I think because it's early, the Bears aren't panicking about it. They know that this is part of his process of learning a very complex playbook, and Ben Johnson along the way taking stock of what's not working, so he'll be able to then identify that, adjust things to the quarterback, and maybe even switch up some of how he's teaching it.
It's excellent information out of Courtney. Again, the article on ESPN.com with even more, but it does show you, too, why we all probably need to pump the brakes on what we may see out of Caleb this coming season. Exactly. It would be hard for anyone. Let's talk a little bit more about the Browns. This is pretty interesting. Shedeur shows out, okay? You see it right there. Let's see it ourselves. So starting for the Browns as they take on the Panthers. Shedeur getting his shot. First quarter, Browns, 3rd and 9. Sanders showing the elusiveness there, running for the first down. You see what he can do with his legs. Probably not a lot of conversation around that in the lead up to the draft, but you saw it right there, driving the Browns down the field. 4th and 1, Sanders scrambling again, evading pressure and throwing it away here before being brought down. The Browns turning it over on down. So we go to the first play of the second quarter. 2nd and goal for the Browns. Off play action, Dan Sanders finds Caden Davis for the touchdown.
Yeah, this is an aggressive throw. I mean, you're talking about on-the-move aggression and perfectly placed. And then, Laura, you talked a little bit about the legs. I like that he gets out, hangs. That ball is essentially perfect. A sick one-handed catch. But just, like showing off the ability to make some big-time throws. And then this is the throw that I'm super excited to break down in detail of how that did.
You'll hear from Dan in a minute, but first, let's go to Shedeur after the game.
I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't nervous, so I didn't really have too much adrenaline. It was just getting comfortable. That's all it is. Like it's plenty games before. Like I was nervous, but I felt like I knew it. I knew the answers to the test. So it's like when you feel unprepared, then when you don't feel like you're ready for the moment. I know I'm ready for the moment. Did I play up to par? No, I don't feel like I did. But overall, the main goal was to win. And that's honestly what we did.
Dan, what stood out to you when you look closer at Shedeur's tape?
Yeah, one play, that second touchdown pass, and the 3 things that stand out are the ability to react, the ability to remain, and then the ability to rip the football. I want everyone to see it at full speed once again because there's a lot of elements attached to this that look like starting quarterback material, understanding it's the preseason, by Shedeur Sanders. Okay, so let's talk about the reaction. Shedeur is going to send the motion, and once the motion goes, coverage in the defense is going to change. And Shedeur actually wants to start with the football throwing to his left. You can see he's peeking this way because he wants to throw this out-breaking route to the tight end. Now, while he's peeking that way, he's going to see this unblocked, what feels like linebacker coming his way. So you have to react from that linebacker because you don't know if this back is actually going to get there for protection. Back does, okay? Good job by Marshall. But react away. Now, when you react away, he gets into this moment where do you remain a passer or not? There's a running lane, but that's not really his strength, right? So you can see Shedeur remaining a passer with his vision down the field. So react away, remain a passer. And I want everyone to remember, when he initially left, he was on that hash. Remember that landmark when he first starts to move. So you're remaining the passer, and then when you see the field, if you're Shedeur Sanders, and you see that that first post goes that way, and that safety collapses, what it does is it leaves a vacancy there for you to throw that outside post if you want. So react, remain, and then rip the football to that open receiver. And this is what I love, the ball placement. Down in the red zone, we talk about two places to throw the ball. Face mask or higher, belt buckle or lower to protect the receiver and the throw. That's phenomenal by Shedeur Sanders. Now, I want to go back one quick moment. Remember I told everybody when he first starts to move, this is what I call operational space. He's on that hash. Block comes, he gets off that hash about 2-3 yards, and now look at the throwing posture that he's in. Even off that little shuffle, throwing posture, and then that beautiful touchdown pass. There's a lot right there that looks like a starting quarterback in the NFL. The Browns now have to sit around and go, do we have to give him more reps with the starting units against starting defenses?
Ooh, wow. I love it, Dan. Adam, there were some injuries in the Browns quarterback room that factored into the amount of Sanders playing time. What's the status of those injuries?
Both Kenny Pickett and Dillon Gabriel were back on the practice field this week. Both had hamstring tightness, some issues there. I think they know what time it is. They know it's time to go out and show that they can play this preseason, especially with Shedeur Sanders coming out and lighting it up the way that he did in his preseason opener. Both players on the practice field today. We'll see if they can get going here in the Browns' second preseason game.
Yeah, that was the thing we wondered this whole time. Is like, how are they going to get the reps around to all these quarterbacks, give them enough opportunity? Oh,
Let me break you out.
Hey,
Dillon Gabriel and Kenny Pickett feeling that pressure,
oh
Boogie.
no, we got to get back
That's
out there.
that pressure.
All right, so they're feeling the pressure, but do you think Shedeur did enough to prove that he should be in consideration for the starting job, Swag?
Yeah, he did. And listen, because you know Joe Flacco is not your long-term answer to be your starting quarterback if you're going to usher in a new quarterback and get this team potentially in a position where they can go and play forward and make moves in order to try to win a lot of games, especially in that division. Here's the thing for me, though. Like, the response of the kid is the best thing that happened in this game, right? We've been talking all offseason about he's not getting enough reps in practice, all of these things, set up to fail, all of that. I said Friday when I was on First Take, I said this is the perfect opportunity because Dan and Woody knows this. Injuries create space for you to perform. Yeah. It's an age-old tale in the NFL, and this is one of those other situations when you see in the preseason a guy goes down and the team finds out, oh, we got a player here. Now, it's a polarized position, and obviously we know about Shedeur Sanders. I played with a guy named Miles Austin in Dallas. Yeah. We would not have known how good he was at wide receiver had it not been for an injury. This happens so much in the offseason. He went and took full advantage of his opportunity. And what he's done more than anything, he's earned more reps in practice and earned more critical reps in practice now in order to compete to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Because everybody else on this roster ain't proven. So I don't know why in the hell you would leave him at fourth string after a performance like that.
Don't get Wally Pipp, baby.
I know.
Don't get Wally Pipp.
Every coach will tell you about Wally Pipp.
Hey, Swagger, don't let it happen to you. All of a sudden, hamstrings, everything done got right. Quick back there. Right, exactly. No, but listen, I said.
I'm healthy now.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're healthy. They ready to practice. But listen, man, it's one of these things where, you know, you had to take advantage of the opportunity. And the fact that he played so well now you planted that seed. You planted that seed in Kevin Stefanski's head. Like, whoa, okay, you played the majority of the snaps. You look damn good out there.
Let's stick with the Titans. See #1 overall pick Cam Ward making his preseason debut. The Titans taking on the Buccaneers. We'll pick it up in the early second quarter. Ward's second drive after a 3-and-out. Titans trail 10. Okay, he's got time. Calvin Ridley over the middle. Goodness.
I love the protection. Ooh, I would have loved that throw out a second sooner. I just thought he was like, okay, wait. This is a beautiful crosser to Calvin Ridley. That second quarter, Laura, that you just mentioned, this is when he really started to settle in and get comfortable.
Yeah, later in this drive, 3rd and 9 from the Tampa 24. Ward firing over the middle, finds Chig Okonkwo. That sticks for a first down. A great 3rd down conversion by Ward. And then 2nd and goal from the Bucs 1. Ward handing it to Tony Pollard. He runs it in for the touchdown. You heard Adam talking about how important Tony Pollard could be. D-Wood, what did you take away from Ward's first live action this weekend?
Love how he was pushing the ball down the field.
Yeah.
I think his, the chemistry with Calvin Ridley, those two are going to be big time. They're going to have a big time relationship as far as their chemistry is concerned. I think, Dan, you brought up a good point. I want him to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker, but his protection was so crazy.
Which is what's been lacking there for a couple years now.
Yes. But I think the big thing for Cam Ward is just taking care of the football, because we've seen the quarterback play in Tennessee, and that's been one area of emphasis. That they've been atrocious as far as taking care of the football.
Good eyes and twitchy. So a lot of the stuff that like to come of his tape coming out of college, it showed itself. So a lot of good, and then there's moments when you sit there and go, your feet can be calmer. You can settle down a little bit more. Just because you are capable of making some of those off-platform throws doesn't mean you have to. So when I talk about good eyes, it's the ability to confirm things post-snap. Left of the screen, you're going to get a shallow cross. He's got to see that backside defender just to make sure that corner is actually running with that shallow, because once he leaves, then that vacates the space for Calvin Ridley to come across, and we'll talk about beautiful throw. That's perfectly pulling him away from that defender. Now look at the safeties near the top of the screen. One on the right side is going to bluff like he's going to the middle. He's not. Dropping down zone defense. Zone happens fast in the NFL, right? What ball's got to come out right now. Twitchy before that backside linebacker gets there in between the numbers. Awesome, okay? And then there's a couple times where his feet, I felt, were just out of position. What's the coverage going to be? Is it going to be cover 1 or is it going to be cover 2 where that safety would go to a half-field zone? And his feet right now, making this throw, they're essentially parallel to the line of scrimmage. And without the rush dictating that. So almost interception. A couple times I just sat there and I said, you can see his feet too fast or a little bit unsettled or maybe playing question. These, again, like I said with Dart, this isn't concerning. It's not a red flag. This is actually the good stuff that you want. This is the reason why you want them to play. So very encouraged and very exciting. There's just stuff that he's going to have to work on off of this tape.
Yeah. I know he was the first overall pick, but the Titans have found their franchise quarterback. And Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, I saw a little bit of Jordan Love in Cam Ward.
Sure.
I saw a little bit of that ability to throw the ball kind of unorthodox. The mechanics aren't necessarily perfect, but you can see the talent. But the most important thing that I saw in this game and what I look for rookies in preseason is poise. I didn't see him really panic at all during this game. You don't know going into your first NFL game what the speed is going to be like. You don't have an idea of what the defenses are going to do. Are they going to hold back? Are they going to try to pressure and blitz the quarterback? It never seemed like he was out of sorts. I got to give my big dog Woody some credit because he already mentioned that the offensive line did a really good job. But we've even seen rookies behind offensive linemen that have time. I watched Dan do tape after tape after tape and ask the question, why is the youngster bailing already? Why is he starting to lead the pocket already? I didn't see that with Cam Ward. That was the thing that I enjoyed about watching him was the command. And he plays, y'all, I don't know if y'all felt it. He plays with a confidence, and we talked about it in college. You don't know how it's going to translate when you get to the NFL. It looked the exact same when he was at Miami as far as just the confidence and feeling like I can make any play I want to on the field right now.
He also, I mean, this was, I don't know, now it's been maybe a couple weeks ago, but he was the one who was like, we have not been practicing up to snuff. I need to be better. Like, he's owned a lot of this, too. I think it's been really impressive, even just off the field.
Great leadership.
The leadership, right.
Well, the leadership, the guy is there, first one in the building in the morning, very early. People take note of that, and he seems like he's a leader of men early on.
Yeah, let me just say, too, credit to great parents. His parents are awesome.